Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Financially Forever After, a love and money podcast. We are your hosts, Lindsay and
Brett the Money Maker.
Is this going to be your thing now?
You say that. That's like your fifth time. Yes, that's my thing. Obviously.
But I thought it was like a thing, just one time thing. Is
No,
this like
I'm
a
the money
forever thing?
Yeah, let's roll.
Well, I should get something then too.
All right, what do you want to be?
The love guru.
That's probably taken, but
Oh, okay. Well, so is the money maker,
yeah,
I'm sure.
Probably.
And I don't know much
Okay,
about love.
Lindsay, the love guru.
The
but
clueless in love.
So hold on, like I'm licensed to do it. Like you're not a love.
Oh no,
licensor.
I'm not licensed, but I'm definitely knowledgeable.
Okay.
With
that laugh, just means yes.
What did we call it earlier? The sage? Because we have wisdom now. Weren't they called the sage?
I don't know. I thought sage. I thought that was a spice or something.
No, it's like a wise elder.
So you tell me sage isn't a spice?
Well, it is.
Oh, okay.
But also they were referred to as like the elders of the group. They were the ones with the wisdom. That is now us. Now that we're middle-aged.
I mean, it's relative. Depends.
As much as our kids don't agree.
Yeah, to the kids.
We know nothing. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You don't know that reference because you never watched.
Sounds like a movie or something.
It's a show. It's okay.
Who's Jon Snow? What is this?
It's a character.
And what type of show is it?
Oh, come on. What was it called? It was on HBO. There was like
Don't tell me it was Bridgerton's.
No. I can't even think of the show now. Now you got me all befuzzled. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'm not a love guru.
Is that the word of the day? Befuzzled?
Befuzzled. Yes. Word of the day. Befuzzled.
Okay.
What's going on in the world of everything?
Well, we've talked recently on Trump tariffs and how that's affected the market. So,
Has that? I've heard he's continuing. He's actually raising them even more now. Is that true?
Yeah, he's like, hey, I want to take it up a notch.
Yeah,
let's take it up a
Make
notch.
them feel the pain.
So,
but in actuality, who's it actually hurting? I feel like it's hurting us more.
Right now, it's killing the market.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about that here in a little bit. What do you do when the cows go moo? No,
I was gonna say when they come for you.
I was like, I don't even know if that's the right one.
But when they come for you, bad boys.
No, what do you do when the market's down?
Mm-hmm.
What strategies? What financial strategy you got?
Okay.
So
we're gonna cover that today.
Yeah. Well, some of those.
Okay.
We might, dangle a little carrot for next time. Might do some today, might do some next time.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on the relationship side today, we actually had a question. A viewer had written in and had asked specifically about this question. So that's what we're going to cover today. We have a little bit of knowledge on this subject, but not a lot because we've dated a long time. We've been married a long time. We broke up, I think, twice in our relationship. Is that correct?
Twice? I only remember one. What's one do you?
I feel like it was twice.
Was it with?
We had one that was like a short time.
Else?
No, it was like a short breakup, and then the other one was like longer.
No, it's just college.
We broke out outside of college once
in your
too.
Mind. Maybe sometimes you're making me mad and like you wanted to like twice. I might be like 10 right now. Like, oh, she's peeing me off right now.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to discuss the psychology of breakups and why breakups hurt and how to navigate them healthily. Is that a word? It has to be.
It sounds like it should be.
In a healthy way.
There you go. That's what I always do when I'm like typing something up and I'm like,
healthily? Is
that a word? Am I using it right? And I'm like, I'm just going to find a different way to phrase it.
I like to use words that you don't know. And then you always question me and then you have to Google it. Because you're like, I don't believe that's a word. And then I like to prove you wrong when you actually figure out that it is a word.
You do tons of reading.
I do. I do like to read.
Very, very focused on,
finances.
Yeah, a lot of work.
No, that's true. Okay, so let's get into it. So why do breakups hurt? Like what is the big deal, right? Well, they say we as humans like to form emotional attachments. So we're wired to have that human interaction and to form those attachments. So when that bond is broken, it can trigger grief, which is actually quite similar to losing a loved one and, experiencing the same type of grief as you go through if you lose a loved one. So if you have a friend that's experiencing a breakup and you're like, what's the big deal? Like, you broke up, they didn't die. I mean, they're essentially going through the same things as someone who has experienced a grief. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you're losing a loved one. Like they're alive.
They're alive.
You're not going to hang out with them.
They're not going to be in the part of your life anymore.
Yep. So it's, I mean, yeah, it's not a death, but in essence, that relationship has had a death. And granted, you might have to. It depends if it's like just like a boyfriend and girlfriend, or I mean, these days it could be boyfriend, and girlfriend, like whatever. But or if they're married and they have had kids, because if you had kids and you're like, hey, my kids are 8 and 10, 5 or 12 or what, and you know, they're doing activities, like just because you broke up with them doesn't mean you're not going to see them again. You're going to be seeing them all the time.
You're going to see them a lot, just in a different way.
Co-parent, you still got to be on the same page in regards to how you're going to be raising those kids, even though, you know, it might be some at your house, some at my house, and
or you're having to witness your ex-spouse or, you know, go through a new relationship, and, you know, that could be hard too.
Yep.
Whether you wanted it was amicable or not, and you broke up, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
seeing them experience happiness with someone else could be hard as well. And
could have been your idea, their idea. Either way, it doesn't mean it still didn't hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing is identity shifts. So you kind of covered on that. Relationships shape your identity. So especially if you've been married for a long time. I know a lot of people say, Brett and Lindsay, we're just like a duo, because at this point in our relationship, we've been married a long time. It's not just Lindsay anymore. It's not just Brett anymore. It's Brett and Lindsay. So when you're getting invited to things, that's how it is a lot of times. So if you're divorcing or breaking off a relationship where you've been together for a long time and that's your identity, that can be really hard. And the fear of the unknown. I feel like this is a big one, because the end of a relationship can bring that loneliness, the uncertainty. Maybe your visions for what your future looked like are now changed because you're no longer a married couple, you're divorced, or you're no longer in that long-term relationship that you were hoping it would turn into a marriage. So there's lots of factors that go into that, and having that unknown feeling can be scary for people. And then lastly, unresolved emotions. So sometimes breakups are messy and they can lead to anger and regret, resentment, guilt, lots of different feelings there. So how do you navigate breakups?
Well, hopefully
in a healthy way, in a healthy manner.
Hopefully you can keep it together, right?
Yes,
I mean, but there might be something unhealthy. You might have one person that, hey, I am set on my ways. I'm not changing my ways. Another person goes into it thinking like, I love this person, or I believe I love this person, and I think I can change them. And if they can just be with me long enough, I can gradually switch them over, change them over. And then, you know, the further they get into it, they're like, no, that's not going to happen. And that person likes one way, the other person like wants them to switch. So there's lots of reasons that it couldn't work. But at the end of the day, it's, do you love that person enough to continue on that relationship? Yeah.
And now we're saying this in a way where it's a healthy, there's no abuse, there's no things like that. The other factors where it's like, this should be the end of a relationship. This is, in this case, do I or don't I?
Yeah. Obviously we wouldn't want any, you know, bad, negative type of relationships to continue on.
Yes. So if you are going through a breakup, whether it was your decision or the other person's decision, this is just some of the things they had mentioned. It tells you to allow yourself to grieve, same as you would if you had a loss or you're experiencing a loss. It's very similar. Give yourself that permission to feel that pain, that sadness, that anger. Things are going to change and it can be scary. So allowing yourself to feel that natural process, it actually can help you with the healing process as well. Reaching out for support, whether it's friends, family, or a therapist. I'm totally pro therapy. I think having an outside source and using that person to just discuss things that are going on in your life, I'm totally for having a therapist. So that might be something to look into. Creating healthy boundaries. So minimizing contact with your ex. Like you had mentioned, though, that can be hard if you're divorcing and there's kids involved. That might not be a big option where you have to co-parent and you have to text and call and get in alignment. So that might actually slow the healing process down a little bit, because it's not like you can just cut ties and be done with that person. They're going to be part of your life. So that can be a big struggle.
So, you know what I think might not be a bad thing too is to have somebody to kind of bounce some ideas off of it and talk to, like a good friend, a good confidant, or whatnot.
Or someone who's experienced it.
That either experienced it before. I think everybody has friends that always want to be on their side, right? You're like, hey, if I call this person, they're going to side with me. If I call this person, they're going to side with me. And, as you're in the midst of it, you're like, oh, this is so great. I got my feelings out and that person agreed with me. But at the same point in time, that night might not be ultimately what you want, right? So it would be like, do you have a confidant that can kind of say, hey, you're a third-party biased person in regards to our relationship. Now, that might be really hard to find, but here's what he might be thinking, and here's what I might be thinking. Tell me how we can help make this better, or rather than just, in your instance, I'm going to nag on him for this stuff that, Brett's doing, or I'm going to nag on you for the stuff that you're doing. And like, yeah, she's being ridiculous, or, oh, he's being ridiculous. It's like, all right, well, how could we get through this? How could we make it better? How could we ultimately get the other person to see my side? For me, what I like to do, I don't say a lot of times because we don't get in too many fights, but we definitely do. We got in humdinger a little while ago, a few weeks ago, but that's okay. It happens, right? I mean, some things are great. Sometimes it's great all the time. Sometimes it's not. Yeah. It's not peachy keen all the time. But having somebody to talk through that and say, hey, how can I get my mind frame to see the other person's thoughts? And I don't always do that. I'll admit that. And like, no, how can she not see it this way? How can Lindsay not see it this way? And, I'm sure you do the same thing. It's like, why? I don't understand why Brett doesn't understand, but trying to think it from the other person's side, like, all right, I feel like, you said we were pro therapy. Like at one point in time we went through it, and
that's what our
they always said, say, I feel this, or I feel that, but be able to talk about it in a calming voice. And I say calming voice, like, so we're not yelling at each other, right? So you get to a point where we're not yelling. It's like, I feel this. Well, this is the reason I feel this. Okay. Well, granted, 9 out of 10 fights that we've really ever had, a lot of times it's perspective. Yeah. Right. It's like, all right, well,
or misconstruing the situation.
Or like, oh, well, I didn't realize that. Or, oh, you didn't realize that. And like, oh, well, there's more to the story than the surface level stuff that you see.
Sometimes it takes stepping back to kind of let your feelings kind of get out of the way before you approach that with your partner. To say, okay, I'm really mad and upset and hurt right now. I can't have a good conversation with you and see it at a distance yet. So maybe you need a few days to just calm down and let that kind of not fester, but simmer down a little bit, and then approach it again where you're on a kind of a level-headed playing field, I feel. Yep. So yeah, that's good points. But here are some signs where this is just it. This is the breaking point. Maybe this is where you do need to part ways and move forward unattached. So, constant unresolved conflict. Say you're having that cycle of fighting where you can't get to that point of resolution. Maybe that's the point where you just need to say, we've had these conversations, we've both voiced our sides, but it's just never getting to that point of having a resolution. Maybe that's the point where it's like, this is just not going to work. And that's okay. I mean, you might have that point where it's just not going to get any better. And that could be a sign that it's time to go your separate ways. We talked about it already, emotional or physical abuse. Any form of abuse is a clear sign that it's time to walk away. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that's easy. Someone's hitting you, you walk away. It's easier said than done. I know from experience, both my grandmothers had experienced abuse in their relationships, and they had kids. They were in love with their partner. It was just a different time. So that can be easier said than done. And it's easier on the outside looking in to say, well, why don't you just leave that person? Why don't you just do blah, 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 whatever, fill in the blank. So there's always resources you can go to, you find outside help and get the help you need to maybe get away from that relationship, because nobody has the right to abuse you, whether it be physically or verbally. Lack of trust, loss of intimacy, growing apart. There's so many factors or signs that are clear signs. It's like, this just isn't working for us anymore. And those might be times where it's just like, I got nothing else to give. So there you go. Kind of a downer, but people are experiencing these things. And remembering that breakups are hard for both parties, again, whether you're initiating or not. So just some things to think about if you are experiencing a loss of relationship.
Yeah. And there's, there's steps along the way that you can do. And I say steps along the way, like we talked about it here a week or two ago, is there's like a retreat. And you have like a couples retreat, or, there's things that you can do to strengthen your relationship or strengthen your marriage, should you be married. To hopefully never get to that point. So I'd say never get to that point. There's always going to be arguments. There's always going to be things that you don't agree with. It's just, do you love each other enough to see past that?
Yeah, exactly.
As long as there's no abuse involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if the relationship is strong enough to survive those ups and downs, because long-term relationships, you are going to go through those highs and lows. It's not always going to be peachy keen. Bed full of roses every day. There's going to be some conflicts. And
there might be some times you don't know what to do. You might be befuzzled.
Befuzzled.
Word of the day.
Word of the day. So it's just some things to think about as you are maneuvering through those relationships.
So if you have questions or want to, put it out there, if you have a problem or want us to talk about it, where would you go to do that?
Oh, very good questions. Well, I like to reference our social media accounts: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter. Not Twitter. I always say Twitter. Tweet.
X, isn't it X now?
You can't tweet. Is it? What do you do now? Is it?
You act like I know.
So
I don't know.
If you're tweeting and it's not called Twitter anymore, what is it called?
Don't you still tweet to X?
I don't know. But also, regardless, TikTok. We're on TikTok. What about our website? What is our website?
Financially for the number 4. Financially for ever after. .com.
And that is where this user has actually asked this question about breakups. So there you go on the website.
And what's the name of this user?
This user was Tanya. Didn't say a last name. Her name was Tanya. So Tanya had some questions regarding breakups and just the psychology of it, going through a rough time. So hopefully that helped to answer some of your questions, Tanya. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Yes.
All right. So what do we got on the finance side today?
Okay. So through the month of February, market was terrible. In February, Trump started putting the tariffs and other things on. Now, I'm not saying that's the sole cause, just so you know. There's other factors that come into play. But that's a big factor, in my opinion, on one of the reasons that the stock market's tanking. Other people could think, hey, it's overvalued. It's way too high. It was due for a pullback. I mean, 2023, 2024, we had 20+% rate of return years. A lot of times it's not like 3 or 4 years in a row that you reel off 20-some% years. So what goes up must come down. So in thinking about that, there's what you call in the S&P 500 world, which, do you know what the S&P 500 is, Linz?
No, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Okay.
S&P 500.
Yeah. Guess.
Stock
and what? What are you going to say the P is?
I don't know. Ponies.
Stock and ponies 500. There's 500 ponies lined out, and they just... What?
Did you say there's an M in there?
No, it's and.
Oh, so stock and ponies.
Yeah.
That's not it? Oh,
Survey says... No, it's the S&P 500. It's Standard & Poor's 500. So it's the top 500 largest stocks in the United States make up this S&P 500. But it's valuated. And so what valuated means is, the larger you are, the more it actually comprises of the S&P 500 in regards to the return. So the larger companies, you might say, all right, well, there's 500 companies. Well, company number 500 has the least value on it. It might really only incorporate like 0.1, maybe not even 0.1 of the overall S&P 500's return, whereas you get the big 7, they call it the Magnificent 7, they might comprise of 20, 30, 40%. So actually, before I get into that number, do you happen to know who the Magnificent 7 are in regards to the S&P 500 for? So just think of it this way. You might say, I don't even know what the S&P 500 is. Maybe it's a pony. So it's not a pony. So
ponies are cute.
What stocks would you say are the largest 7 stocks in the United States? Because those are the ones that are considered the Magnificent 7.
Well, I'm going to go with Amazon for 500.
Amazon, you are right. Ding, ding, ding. That's one.
Let's see what else is really big right now. Tesla.
Tesla is definitely on there. Yep.
Is that 2 of the 5?
That's 2 of the 7.
Oh, 2 of the 7. Oh my gosh, there's some more. Oh, I'm trying to think what's really big right now. Is there any like social media like Facebook or Instagram?
So
TikTok.
So there's Google.
Google, okay.
Google's on there. Okay. Any other guesses?
Walmart. Is Walmart
Walmart?
still there? They're kind of dying.
I mean, it's definitely S&P 500, but not top 7.
Give me a hint. Is it clothing or?
So Facebook, aka Meta.
Facebook,
yeah,
yes.
you said social media, so I have to give you that because I said Google on there. So then there's 3 others.
What category?
Tech for the most part.
Tech.
Very tech. If you notice, a lot of those have been tech, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the largest ones have been the tech sector, which highly correlates with the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ's for a lot of people. So the S&P 500 is the 500 largest, right? Then maybe not everybody, but most people heard of the Dow Jones. So it's the top 30 industrial companies. The NASDAQ is all tech related. Well, not all, but mostly tech related. So a lot of these companies here are actually on the NASDAQ as well. So we have 3 more. Any guesses on the 3 more?
No, I give up.
Okay. So NVIDIA.
No, I wouldn't have known that. What is it?
NVIDIA.
What is it?
NVIDIA.
Yeah. Do you know what it is?
Chips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
they do chips. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then Microsoft.
Okay.
You've heard of a little company called Microsoft. And then I'll give you a hint. I believe this is true. I don't know a lot of pop culture stuff, but I think I'm right. Gwyneth Paltrow's child's name.
Apple?
Apple.
Oh, Apple is still.
Yes, Apple.
Well,
see, I knew that.
me.
You proud of me for knowing that? Pop culture
That
stuff.
is. I'm actually shocked. I was thinking Gwen Stefani when you initially said that. I was like, what? Gwen Stefani?
No.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes, Gwyneth
Apple.
Paltrow. Okay, so those are the Magnificent 7. As a recap: Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, aka Google, Meta, aka Facebook, Microsoft, Tesla, and NVIDIA. So here's the deal: is tech has been fantastic the last couple years. However, here recently, it's just been like crashing and burning, not been doing well. So to put in perspective, those are the 7 largest stocks out there in the United States for the most part. And if we look at it and we go the historicals, if we go back to like 2000 and I think it's 16 or 2018, somewhere in there. Oh, here we go. I got my sheet. So in 2014, those 7 combined added up, and they comprise about 9.8% of the overall S&P 500. So that was in 2014. Fast forward 5 years, they were 19.2%. So that shows you how much those have actually grown. And then fast forward through 2024, they actually comprise of 34.6% of the S&P 500. So what that means is they comprise of about 33% of the overall return, roughly about a third of the overall return of what the S&P 500 does. But if we look over the last month, here's some returns on what they have done. So Apple, I'll do this one a little bit further back. Apple's down 17% from 1226 from last year. Within the last month, they're down 12.95%. Amazon.
Hold on. This is for my friend Andrea that's all pro Apple. Did you hear that? Apple down. Samsung and Google up from them?
No, up from them, but
we always fight about which phone is better, Apple or Samsung, which is Google essentially. But yeah, bummer. I was going to use that against her.
Well, it's still better than Google is better than
better off than Apple.
Than what Apple did. Not by much, but
winning. Hashtag winning.
Amazon down 13.76% this last month. Google, also known as Alphabet, down 11.16%. Meta, Facebook, 17.65.
I'm honestly surprised like they're still up there. Facebook is such like an old
You know why? I think that there's so much up there, because I'll do it sometimes for marketing for like different workshops.
Like paid.
And it's paid advertising.
But you can also do that on TikTok. You can also do that on Instagram.
And Google and other resources.
Yeah,
but
so I'm just
it's
surprised.
Still one of the most commonly used way to get, sites out there. So to get the most amount of people to show up and do other things. So yeah.
I guess makes sense.
So Meta 17.65 down, Microsoft 5.35 down. So much better than the other ones. Tesla, though, since Elon came in and started running the Department of Governmental Efficiency.
Did that hurt him then a little bit?
Tesla has gone down over this last month 30.48%.
How does that affect his paycheck? A little bit? A little bit?
I think he's fine either way.
Oh.
I think he's okay, but obviously...
Didn't he just have one of his Starlink things blow up too? Like... Elon is not having a great start to
I don't think he cares when he has so much stuff, so much money.
I suppose.
You would like to think he does. And
he's got like a million kids too. Did you know he's like giving Nick Cannon a run for his money?
What? Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's married or not. Is he married?
I don't think so.
Well,
he's just spreading his wealth and other things everywhere.
I think it's seed you wanted to say. So Tesla 30.48 down. Year to date, 2025, 38.74. 38.74. So this is morning as I was looking at these numbers. And then NVIDIA down 13%. So
you question, because these are so low, is this a good time to get in on them on the market then?
Oh my gosh.
Were we going there?
We were going
I predicted?
There. See, here's the thing is like, I never tell Lindsay what I'm talking about. And I don't ever want her to tell me because I want like 100%
we're not going
authentic
blind.
Answer as we go through this.
This is real time, folks.
This is real time. So
no edited. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. Yeah. So what can we do? What can we do about it? So I have a slew of different things that we can do. Guess what number one was? What do you say? Buy the dip.
Oh, yeah.
Buy the dip.
That sounds yummy. Buy the dip.
Now you want some of that apple, right?
No, I don't want. I want like the one with like the corn, and then you get the tortilla chips. Oh, that one's so good.
Mexican food.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So buy the dip. Queso. So as everything's lower, so just think of it this way: is if a month or two ago the price of your stock that you wanted, it was $100 a share. Say it's down 15%. That's only $85 a share. So obviously you're saving 15%. So you're getting at a 15% discount compared to everybody that bought it a month or two ago. So that'd be a great time to buy if you got some cash on the sidelines as you want to buy the dip. Another thing you could do is called tax loss harvesting. So tax loss harvesting is you might have a portfolio of some stocks or some mutual funds or ETFs or whatnot and say, hey, let's just say you have a stock. Let's say you have 2 or 3 stocks. One stock is up $10,000. The next stock is down $6,000. The next stock is up $15,000. Next one's down $20,000. I don't know. Making it up. But what you can do is you can actually sell some of the losers to offset some of the gains. So your one that's up $7,000, you could actually sell some of that stock of up to the $7,000 of gains, but you can also sell some of those losers that are down up to $7,000, and then it's a net zero. So a lot of people have stocks that they've held a very, very long time, and you can say, hey, I want to sell some of the losers, but also you want to sell some of the winners at the same time, and then you can buy into something else, and you might be able to buy it cheaper, especially right now, knowing that, hey, everything is compressed and everything is lower in regards to the stock market. So that'd be a decent time if you do have some winners in there and also some losers to tax loss harvest to get some of that out of there. Okay, next thing is rebalance your portfolio. So when you rebalance your portfolio, you might say, all right, well, do I want to be so much in the S&P 500 or do I want to be so much in the NASDAQ knowing that everything is tanking, everything is going down, and maybe that's time to get in. But also you might say, all right, well, is there a different sector? Should I get into energy? Should I get into utilities? Should I get into international? I'm not a huge fan of international because over the last 20-some years, it's only beat the U.S. stock market one time, and that was 2017. So the odds are the U.S. market's been a lot better. However, you never know moving forward, but that's just a chance where you could rebalance some of your portfolio. And I would say if you're contributing to those 401ks, those IRAs, one of the things that you could do is you could take that and just keep dollar cost averaging. Just keep contributing to your 401ks, IRAs. Now, Do you know what dollar cost averaging is, Lindsay?
Dollar cost averaging? No, I do not. But I bet you're going to tell me.
Well, yes, I am. So dollar cost averaging just means you're consistently investing. And as you're, making your paycheck, you're consistently putting in. But you might say, hey, I'm retired. Well, you could take a similar thing, a similar approach in retirement if you have some extra cash and say, hey, I'm over this next year or right now, I have some cash. I know it's down. It'd be good to put some money in, but it could go down even further. So I would say, hey, dollar cost average yourself in, which means buy at various different price points, knowing that, hey, today we might be 10, 15% lower. But a week or two from now, if there's more tariffs or anything else that comes out, we might be another 5-10% lower that you can buy again. And then it goes back up. Okay, well, hopefully we're starting to trend up. Okay, well, I want to take my third allotment of money and buy into it. So there's just a couple things that you can do there in regards to why the market's down. And actually on our next episode, I'm going to give you even more strategies you can do why the stock market is down.
That is some good information, babe. So we're going to buy into some Tesla?
I don't know if I want to get Tesla. I'm not saying we won't, but I'm not saying we will either.
I'll say what we're not buying is Apple.
Oh, gosh.
No Apple for us.
You and your Andrea feud. Just stop. There's nothing wrong with Apple.
Awesome. So again, if you have questions, you can hit that subscribe button below and get all of these information on this podcast to give you some tips about what's going on in the stock market right now, and also answer those questions on our social media accounts. We mentioned Facebook. It might be tanking right now, but it's going to turn around hopefully here in the future. And also get onto our website. You can ask those questions, those burning questions you have with what's going on right now.
Yeah, there's a spot that's got a little question mark. You just click on it and say, ask a question, leave a comment. If you have something you want us to address, put it on there. You can also apply to have me have a 10-15 minute session with you and answer any financial questions that way. Should you have a question you want my opinion on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining us for another episode of Financially Forever After a Love and Money podcast. Take care.